Good afternoon and good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining Witekio for our webinar on demystifying containers. My name is Joe Toth. I am the Director of Sales and Operations in the East here at Witekio, and I would like to thank you for taking your time out of your day to be with us. Before I turn it over to today's presenter for today's webinar, I'd like to go over a quick few logistics. Today's presentation is scheduled to last about 20 minutes, which will be followed up by about 10 minutes of Q&A. We'll be muting everyone's microphone to keep the background noise to a minimum. So all questions and comments will need to be submitted through an email that you'll see, jtoth@witekio.us. These questions will be answered at the end of the presentation. Now I would like to introduce Witekio's Chief Technology Officer, Cedric Vincent. He's an experienced embedded software design engineer with the responsibility of leading Witekio's technical strategic direction. Cedric will now be taking you into container technology and particularly its application in the embedded space. Cedric?
Yep. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. Because I've seen some people from Europe as well who should join us today. So today I would like to talk about containers, more specifically actually containers and embedded system. Because at Witekio, we really think that containers are essential for bringing deployment capabilities to your connected device. In most cases, personally, I'm using containers mostly for my build systems. So, for instance, I'm running some Ubuntu 17, and I need at some point to build some system with Yocto, and it's Yocto Krogot, and it's not going to run on my Ubuntu version 17. So before I was using some virtual machine, but since a couple of years, it's possible instead to use containers which are much more efficient than virtual machine for this kind of issues. Of course, containers are as well used in data centers for more or less the same reasons, actually. It's because they want to run many different versions of like Node.js or PHP, and they just have issues with dependencies, or they just want as well, of course, to isolate them from each other. So I will start that talk by first an example where I will actually explain how containers could be interesting on embedded system. Then I will shortly compare containers with virtual machine. What are the upside and the downside of each of these technologies? And finally, I will explain how they work, how you can secure them, and of course, how you could set up them on an embedded system. So let's get started with the example. Now imagine you've got some infotainment system where you have a phone application, some navigation, and some dashboard. They are all using the same UI framework and the same system libraries. At some point, one of your customer or some third-party company that is developing the dashboard for you is willing to change from the legacy UI framework to Altia. Before containers, it would mean that you would need to run actually the UI framework and your Altia libraries for this new version of the dashboard on your host system. And bad luck, the Altia and your legacy UI framework, they are using actually two versions of Java, two different versions of Java. And then it's a nightmare because you're going to have issues with dependencies. It's going to be challenging. It's going to take a long time before you have something where you can have everything running at the same time on the target. Then let's imagine the same use case, but this time instead you use containers. So containers, basically, it would allow you to pack up everything that you need for your dashboard inside of the box. And this box is independent of the rest of the system. You have kind of some abstraction layers between the container and the host system. So now to replace the dashboard, you just have the new version that includes the Altia libraries, and you can just stop the former version of your dashboard and put the new version instead. The update is atomic. So that's one interesting feature as well of containers. Since it's a box, so basically a file system and a config file, when you do the update in one time. And of course, you can have some system on your product that is just going to allows you to manage the life cycles of your applications by stopping containers, starting them, and so on. One more feature of containers, which is extremely interesting, it's about security. Since you have that abstraction layer between the application which is running inside the container and the rest of your host system, it means that you have kind of some security layer on top of what you would have if the same application would be directly running on your host system. But I'm going to discuss that a bit deeper later. Then you have this new version of your dashboard. Everybody is happy, it's running, no problem anymore with dependencies, but somehow still something is not working as expected, and you would like to roll back to the former version. If you are using containers, if you just kept actually the former container on your target, if you have enough space, of course, then you can just easily stop the new container running and start the old one. So that's all the beauty of containers, actually. It's first solving every issues when it comes to dependencies, and it's improving the security of your system, and it's making everything easier when it comes to life cycle of your applications. But how does this work? I mean, what's inside a container? So first, it feels like a VM. Like it has its own process space, it has its own network interfaces, it can run stuff as root, it can run services. But in another hand, it's not like quite like a VM, because it's using actually the host kernel of the kernel of your host system. So which means that you cannot boot a different operating system inside a container. I mean, it's not a virtual machine. So container, basically, you have some file system when you run your application with all its dependencies. It's independent from your host system, and that's it. And you have kind of a magic layer in between that allows you actually to use the Linux kernel of your host system. But they don't see each other, or they can see each other, but with some limitations. But if we want to compare actually what's a virtual machine and what's a container, how does this look? So on the left side, so you have some application that would be running inside a container. So you will have this application, libraries, container isolation, and then below the host system. For the same application running inside a virtual machine, on top, you would have some hypervisor and some Linux kernel. So since inside the virtual machine, you're going to do the full emulation of some hardware to run some Linux kernel on top of it, it means that from a performance perspective, of course, the fact to run the application inside a container is going to be much better. I mean, just look at the number of layers between the application and the host system. It's a bit stating the obvious, but that's one of the big upsides of containers. From a performance perspective, running an application inside a container or running it on your host system, you will not see almost any difference. Then about the size. Again, it's a bit stating the obvious, but since you are running a full Linux kernel and all the libraries, dependencies that you need to run your application inside a virtual machine, it's going to be bigger. Container, you can just pack up inside the container, which the minimum which is needed to run your application, and run that on top of your host system. Then we have security, and it's where actually virtual machines are better than containers. They are better because they have more layers. So what was actually the downside for performance and size is an upside when it comes to security. If you have some malicious application running inside your VM, it means that it has to break out from the Linux kernel, from the hypervisor, before it can reach your host system. And I would say that's one of the big plus of using virtual machine. Because if you are running the same application inside a container, basically you have a couple of layers between that application and the host system, but still it's less. But now let's look actually at how a container is working. What's the magic behind a container? The first magic, it's one of the features from the kernel, it's called namespaces. What are namespaces? Basically, what they do, they limit what you can see and therefore use. So if we take a very simple example and we say we use the namespace which is for the network interfaces, we have two containers using the same network interface, but these two containers are inside two different namespaces. So basically, they're both gonna see a network interface, but if one of them will try to spy on that network interface, it will just see its own traffic. It will not see the traffic of the other container. And that's all the beauty of namespace. The fact that you can actually have a global resource and have different instances of that global resource, and that they are all isolated from each other. So the development of the namespace was done by Eric Biderman, and that was merged into Linux from the version 3.8. And that's something that you have to consider. If you want to use containers, I mean, on embedded system, but on any system, you have at least to have a Linux kernel with a version 3.8. Below that, it will not work. So still talking about namespaces, basically you have 7 namespaces from the kernel Linux 4.6, and you can use them so to share hardware resources between your different containers. And the second feature that you have inside the Linux kernels and that is used actually to enable containers is cgroup. So it's control groups. So basically, when for namespace, it was limiting what you could see, cgroups are limited how much you can use. And again, let's take an example. So basically, you have one container, and this container has been is using cgroups to limit actually the usage of resource that could be done by that container. So for instance, there is the memory manager, and you're gonna have a hard limit at 100 megabytes of memory that could be used by that container. Then you have a process scheduler, so you will have a limit at 20% of CPU usage, and then the network interface with a limit at 10 megabits per second. With these 3 limits, you already as well increase the security, the overall security of your container, because it means that if you've got some malicious software running inside your container, and if it's trying to do some DOS attack, for instance, there is a limit on how much bandwidth it can use on the network interface. So basically, all modern containers on Linux, at least most of them, they are using these 2 features to limit the resource usage, and as well to share resources between containers, but making sure that they cannot see each other. One more thing that I want to talk about when it comes to cgroups, and that's the main reason actually, if you look at many tutorials, they are all stating so that you should always have just one application running per container. But usually they don't give you the reason. And the reason is because if you use cgroups and if you put a hard limit using the memory manager on how much memory could be used actually by one container, the out of memory from the cgroups is just going to kill your container if you are above that limit. Which means that if you have 2 applications running in the same container, and one of them is just misbehaving and using all the memory, the two applications are going to get killed. And that's one important point. Always put one application inside one container just to avoid that kind of issue that you could run into. Now, let's talk about security. So, bad luck for us, one of our container was infected by some malicious software. So you can see the nice little pirate with its small parrots. So first, the first thing that we have to protect our container, and that's actually one of the features which is used by default by containers, it's the cgroup limit resource access. So just by limiting the access to the resources of your system, of your host system, using cgroups, you are already limiting the risk that something bad is going to happen when this malicious software is going, for instance, to try to access your network interface and to do some DOS attack. Then you have namespace. So I already discussed that. Since you have a virtualization of access to all resources of your system using namespaces, it's again protecting you against some malicious software that would just try to spy on the network interface, and then it's just gonna see the traffic of the container, but it's not gonna see the traffic of the full system. And that's a very important feature. And you need more, because so cgroups namespace, by default you have them. So of course you have to set them up and to make sure that the configuration that you have is the configuration that is needed for the application running inside the container. But I would say it's by default. But if you need more, one thing that you could use actually, it's a seccomp. So basically seccomp, it's allowing you to limit what kernel calls can be done from your container. This is useful for security in general, because you can prevent a container, for instance, to do a call to CD. And since almost all kernel exploits, they all rely on making kernel calls, because usually they try to find some calls that are rarely used, that are actually accessing some part of the kernels that have not been checked that much. And since you can use seccomp, you can drop all these calls and make sure that you limit actually the number of attack vectors that could be used actually to break out, or to exploit some vulnerabilities from your kernel. So that's a very important feature. And then we have, you could use some mandatory access control policies. So using, for instance, SE Linux or using AppArmor. I will not go too deep into the details of how you could use mandatory access control policy for a container, because, but if you're interested, I could just give you some very good links, some YouTube videos with some very good explanation how you can do that, and with more details about that specific topic. And then the last but not the least, it's since a couple of months, you can actually run rootless containers. And that's really interesting, because if you are already putting all the layers of security that I've been describing for the last 5 minutes, and on top of that, you are running your container rootless, it means that, okay, so you have to break out from cgroups namespace. Then you have to find some API that you can use to break into the kernel or to mess up with the system. Then if you somehow manage to break out from the container, you've got some mandatory access control policy that is just going to limit the right that you have to access the file system. And then even if you break out still from the container, you are just as a normal user. So you can see that with all these layers, it's going to be extremely challenging, first of all, to break out from the container. But even if you manage, you have even more layers actually to make sure that you cannot mess up with the system. And I would say security, it's never perfect, and it's all about that. It's always to find the right balance about how much money you are willing to invest to protect your system, and how much effort actually a hacker would be willing to invest to break into your system. And when you find that right balance, you can find the right amount of security that you need to set up for your system. Okay, so for the last 10-15 minutes, I've been explaining you what you can do with containers, kind of a nice use case that you could have some embedded system, how they are working, how you can secure them. And what I told you basically is all the features that are used by containers are actually part of the Linux kernel from the 3.8 version. So why would I use containers? That's a very good question. And actually there's no, it's more like not to reinvent the wheel. I mean, all these features, if you use Docker, LXC, or Runc, they have been implemented in these container runtimes, and they have been tested for many years into data centers by many people. So if you implement your own version, it means that you have to make sure that you are always staying up to date when it comes to security. So I would not recommend that. And if you look at big companies like Google, like IBM, they are all using standards containers like Docker, like LXC, because even for them, and they could redevelop new containers, a new version of containers if we would like to. But since these versions are already existing since many years, they just don't see the point and just existing what's out. They're just using what's existing out there. But anyway, and even more, I mean, if you look at already available, and it's where it comes in play, so the Open Container Initiative, there are already more than 13 implementations of containers, of container runtimes. So even before, so you consider to develop your own version, you already have plenty of options. Most of them, they're open source, and you already have to consider between all these versions, which one is gonna win. Because I mean, if you develop a project and if it's just gonna be, used for the next 2 years, you don't care too much. I mean, there is a high chance that all these versions, they will still exist in 2 years. But if you develop some industrial project, and if it has to be maintained for the next 10 years, if you pick up the wrong technology today for your containers, it might be that in 5 years, you have to assume the maintenance for that version of container by yourself. And that's why some people, so you can see like IBM, Google, they decided that they needed a standard. And this standard is defined by the Open Container Initiative. So it has been pushed quite a bit by Docker. And actually, they have the first implementation that is respecting that standard, which is called Runc. And if you are using Docker, you are probably already using Runc. So Runc is basically the engine of Docker. It's really the runtime environment that is running your container. Docker, it's bringing a lot, many more things like layers, like an easy way basically to get some containers from the internet and so on. Anyway, and on top of that, you have another implementation of containers, which is based on the Open Container Standard, Open Industry Standard, which is called Railcar, and that has been developed by Oracle. So, I mean, it's really healthy because they are using the same requirements. So you already have 2 versions of container runtimes that are based on the same standard. And I mean, in a couple of years, you can be sure that one of them is going to survive. So, but right now, if you want to use containers on your embedded system, what do you need to do? First of all, I would really recommend to use Yocto because Yocto is just done for that, to deal with dependencies and to build actually file systems. And even better than that, if you are planning to use containers on your embedded system, it's already working. You just have to add the meta virtualization to your Yocto build system, and 20 minutes to 2 hours later, depending on how long it takes on your system to build your Yocto system, you will have actually some image that will include Runc, Docker, LXC, everything you need actually to start playing with these technologies. So when I was talking about the Open Container Initiative, I just want to highlight one more thing. It's about LXC. So LXC is a very good solution for running container on embedded system, like Runc, I would say. But since they are not based on the standard, I would rather recommend Runc. So it was just a small thing I wanted to tell you, that usually for our customers, we recommend to use Runc because it's based on a standard. And LXC had kind of a bad reputation for breaking APIs from one version to another. And that's even why at some point the people from Docker decided to move and not to use LXC anymore for the system, and they started to develop the lib containers, which is no more, it's Runc basically, instead of the lib containers. Anyway, let's get back to Yocto. So basically, if you want to develop containers on embedded system, you're gonna need to cross-compile them and to pack them into a file system. So Yocto is just done for that, and I would say that's why you should use actually Yocto to do that. The bad part here, it's not working out of the box. So you still need to do quite a bit of work actually to do that. But still, and if you consider to have a system container-based, you should consider to have one file system with that would be your host file system, where you will be running actually just the minimum environment that you need to run, for instance, Runc. And then you will use Yocto to generate containers that will include your application and the shared libraries that are needed to run your applications. So that will be basically the idea for an architecture, for a system that will be architecture for running containers. If you don't want to use Yocto, there are other alternatives. For instance, at the beginning, I was using a tool which is called Dockerize, and I was still using Yocto to build my main root file system, and I was using Dockerize to generate, to get all the dependencies from one application and to actually copy automatically all these dependencies inside the file system. So, but it was a very manual process, and it's really taking quite a bit of time actually to do that. So I would really recommend rather just to use Yocto and to customize Yocto actually to directly generate the containers for you. Then if you do customize Yocto, what you're gonna end up with actually, it's a system where you have one file system that will include the minimum necessary libraries and to run your container runtime. And then on top, you will be running your containers. And I would say if you are running, if you are planning to run containers on your system, you have to consider all these points. Then you're gonna need a system to generate the containers. So Yocto is just going to do the trick for you. You might, I mean, the configuration is not that easy, but with Yocto you can do it. Then you need to secure your containers. I mean, of course, as I already told you, it's a matter of balance. It's how much security you need. Is it that important for you that actually some software cannot break out from your container? Then you need to transfer your containers. And that's one part I did not discuss at all during that presentation, but it's extremely interesting because first of all, you have to consider the security when you transfer your containers, but this could be addressed by some solutions like Uptane. And you have to consider as well that maybe you don't want to transfer the full container each time. You would like just to transfer the differences between two containers. So of course, Docker is already providing that kind of support, but I would say the support with some overlay FS or OFS, it might not be your best choice on embedded device. And that's something, if you're interested, that we can discuss together later. And then, of course, since you are bringing new containers on your system, you would like probably as well to be able to manage some rollback to some old version of containers and to manage versions of your application directly on your system. So that's all the nice things that you can do with containers on embedded system. And actually, at Vitekio, right now, we are really working on all these technologies on different R&D projects. And we are planning to publish, and there are already a couple of articles about that on our blog, and more are coming. And these articles are going to actually discuss all these topics. So security about containers, how you can actually upload some containers to your system in a secure way. We are working on that. And so if you're interested, just ping Joe, and he will just keep you posted every time there is a new article about this topic on our blog. And that's it.
Thank you, Cedric. Again, great job. So again, anyone, if you have any questions, please shoot me an email right now at jtoth@witekio.us. Actually, Cedric, we do have one question from Greg.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to know, are there ways for the container to access and use hardware device drivers from the host kernel?
Yes, you can. So of course, it depends the kind of containers that you are using. But if you use Runc, so the engine that is behind Docker, there is you have some file which is the config.json, and you can use it actually to give access to some hardware to the software which is inside the container. For instance, I did that. I was running some AGL, so automotive grade Linux, and running some Qt application inside the container. And of course, I needed access to the GPU. So I just did my configuration to access the GPU from the application that was inside the container. It can be done. It's not too easy, but it can be done.
All right. Anyone else? Any questions? We'll wait for a moment in case anyone's typing any up. And again, everyone, we want to thank you for joining us. If you do have any other questions, maybe you'd like some time with Cedric, myself, or in the western half of the United States, our Director of Sales, Tim Wilmoth, all three of us would be happy to spend some time with you to help go in a little deeper into container technology and what Witekio can do to help you out. That was a nice picture of your car there, Cedric, as you switch screens.
Yeah, Cuba.
All right. Well, out of respect for everyone's time, we want to thank you for participating in this call, listening in. Again, it will be on our YouTube channel. It will be recorded and posted on our YouTube channel shortly. If you have any questions, again, you see the email address on there. We'd love to help you out. Hopefully you found this worthwhile, and we look forward to talking to all of you again in the future. Cedric, thank you very much. And everyone else, thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.